All right, so I want to talk about my wife. She was talking to me about what would you do if you won the lottery, right? Right now, currently, the lottery is at 113 million. So I thought about it. I was like, that's really easy, because what I would do first and foremost, what has to happen is life insurance policies. That's number one. So I would dump money, probably like 10 million, into a life insurance policy for myself, and then um, the total, because the way life insurance works, I'll go into detail a little later, but basically you can't dump. It will be a $50 million policy, and you can't dump all 50 million in it right then and there. You would have to, because if you do that, it would transform into a different type of policy that would be taxed, and you don't want that. So it would start with 10 million the first year, and so on and so forth, until 5 years, 5 to 7 years after. Then it will be fully funded. So that's number one, right? So let's keep track. So now we're down 10 million. So now we have 103 million, right? So now I was go kind of try to use a phone, but this phone is kind of dead. So there's that. So we're down to 10 million. I mean, we're down 10 million. All right. So the next, I want to say 50 million, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw 10 million into a bank 5 times. So five different banks, 10 million for each. Oh, also with the life insurance policy, so I have two kids, wife, so they would each have $5 million policies, which means 1 million um, a piece. Now, that would be 15 million. So we'll just keep track of the money that we're we're doing, or matter of fact, I'll just have it pop up on the screen so I don't have to calculate it, because that's a lot of calculations that I'm not gonna do right now. So 15 million down for life insurance policy. 1 million for three people, really, because of the way it works. But so we'll set aside 50 million. We'll set aside 15 million, so that's 65 million set aside, right? And we can use it in different ways, right? So then that brings us to the other millions, right? So 10 million, and I'll probably take this money as well out of the money that's saved aside, right? So I would do this 5 times. We would go to a bank, we'll deposit 10 million, and be like, "Hello, friend. I want a loan of $10 million," and they'll probably do it more than likely, because they like having my money in the bank. So do that 5 times. Now my 50 million became 100 million. Now, what I would do with that extra 50 million, we would then go into real estate, and then we'll play the game, because I know that creatively, and I'll go into details, you could get into deals fairly cheaply, if not without your money at all, because as you can see, the bank loaned me the money, my money is still there, and I'm going to use their money for this transaction. So I would go buy real estate and businesses, because believe it or not, you could buy businesses as well. And for the most part, you if you have a W-2 job, and have filed your taxes for basically 2 years, you could get what's called a SBA loan, and they do up to 90%. But more on that at a different time, because that's a whole rabbit hole in itself. So um, now now I went from having basically 113 million to adding 50 million onto that. So now it's 163 million in total. So 50 million would then go into playing around with real estate, buying businesses. Then the other money, I mean, of course, I have to take 10 million to use for myself, right? So with that 10 million, I'll buy a house. I'll buy uh, a, maybe like $2.5 million worth of watches and just keep that to the side as a collection. Maybe buy a couple for myself as well within that collection, and my wife. And then I would also use probably another, let's say, 5 to 10 million on, I don't even know where I'm at. So it's already gone. So I would use another 5 million to 10 million on. I mean, we could still keep this within the realm. So I would use 5 million to play around with buying gold, uh, silver bars, and Bitcoin. Right. So I would have that plethora of commodities, and then I would take maybe 10 million to 10 to 20 million, and then we're going to start playing with forex, and we're just going to risk a lot for a big reward. And don't recommend that, but since the money is there, might as well. Maybe potentially it's either one of two things. I'm gonna buy myself a jet, or I'll just be private everywhere I go. And of course, I love cars, so I'm gonna have to get. This is gonna be within that 10 million, so I'll probably get like a. Really, the house I want to get is $15 million, and it's because it has a dope ass library that sold me on that house. But in terms of everything else with the house, it doesn't have enough for what I want at the same time. But so we'll buy a smaller house, $2 to $5 million house. So remember, I said 2.5 million for watches. We'll just say 2.5 for the house. We don't need to go that crazy. Then in cars, we'll do another 2.5 or so, because I'm sure I could get up there, because we'll have a luxury sprinter van, um, 458 Ferrari, a 430 Ferrari, one of the two. Um, then it's gonna be going into the mini projects, Datsun 240, 510. Um, just it's a rabbit hole. Nissan Skyline, GTR, but not the ones that you know about, the old Japanese ones. Um, Supra. There was this. Damn, what? It was an old Toyota, but the luxuries in it was kind of like a Rolls Royce. Of course, we'll have a Rolls Royce as well. Um, Lamborghini, just to have a Lamborghini. But pretty much the reason why I would want to get cars is these cars would be assets, even though they depreciate, right? If I'm able to build a collection of 2.5, 5 million, however big, right? Then if I lose it all, I still have the cars that I pay for cash, and I lose it all. Let's say the value of the collection is 5 million. Then I could turn around and be like, all right, I could dump this all for 4 million and start back over at 4 million rather than at zero. So pay attention, and even the watches too. So it's like I could sell those if I wanted to then make it so that I start at millions rather than starting at zero. So there will be that, right? That's pretty much, I feel like that's how I would go about winning the lottery. I would make decent decisions in the sense of, first, insurance policies, big ones, so that we cover the family, and then of course that creates generational wealth if you didn't know. Then real estate and buying businesses, because buying businesses, it creates way more income than real estate. Buying real estate creates passive. Uh, I don't like using passive, but it creates income in the sense of it can be passive eventually once it gets big enough, but in the beginning is more so active income, at semi passive. I'll call it like that. It's semi passive income. Buying businesses, if you stick to the same industry, you'll just grow that one business or sector into a colossal sector. But the way I want to do it is everything that I would need to, let's say you definitely need marketing, so probably have an agency or a media company. You definitely need, in terms of real estate, you definitely need landscaping, contracting, and all that stuff. So whatever I pretty much am focused on, I would just put businesses in place to like make it make sense, because you always have to do taxes, you always have to do accounting. So I would have a tax business, a accounting firm, just so that I do business with my business and I don't do businesses with other businesses. So I keep it in my ecosystem, in turn making me, I guess, save money because I'm making money for myself, if that makes sense. So then it would just be having the luxuries of myself for myself, right? Going to a bank, dumping some money in so then I could get a loan off of that money, which would in turn be the money that I use to go ahead and do more acquisitions and stuff. And then those um, those businesses, those properties, those investments would in turn pay for the loan. Whatever those investments are will pay for the loans. So then I won't even have to worry about the loans anymore, right? And you could easily find businesses that are making at least 100,000 and pretty much not have to make a crazy investment. Let's say each business that's making 100,000, you have to make an investment of 100,000 in order to get into them. You could buy a lot of businesses with $10 million at that price. So let's say you buy 100 at that price, you're making 10 million. So basically every year, and that's not net cash flow, right? That's not including all these other things. So net would be 100K, bare minimum. And if I get 100 of those, and imagine if they're in the same industry, it will be a colossal company. Colossus? Oh, we'll just say large. It will be a large company, and that company in turn will probably be a giant in the industry as well. So a well-known brand, well-known name, and the more we add onto it, the better, right? Um, so then the other aspect is the cars, the watches, the real estate property, primary property. Then on top of that, there's the dumping in 10 to 20 million into a forex trading account and just trading commodities, day trading, and stuff like that. Taking big risk for high rewards type of thing. So then that would in turn double, triple, whatever, compound that money. And essentially we could play that money the same way we did with the banks. We could go to the bank, get the loan again, instead of using our 10 million, use the bank's 10 million and risk their money. And then at the end of the day, yes, we gotta pay that money back, of course, right? There's, you know, servicing of the loan. You have to pay monthly or however it's set up, but it's not your money. So you're risking somebody else's money, and it's structured in a way that you pay it back, and you have plenty of money to pay it back. So that's pretty much how I would go about. That's pretty much how I would go about winning the lottery. If I won the $113 million, that's pretty much what I would do with it, and I would have a bunch of fun. So don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Cries, laughs, tears, but fears are not real.